Now the next sutta, we come to chapter of the 9.1.3. This is quite a good, interesting and important sutta. Once when the Venerable Meggiya was his attendant, the Exalted One stayed at Chalika on the hill there. Now they approached the Exalted One, saluted him and stood at one side. So standing he said to the Exalted One, Lord, I would like to visit Jantugama for alms. Do now as you think timely. So the Venerable Meggiya, dressing himself before noon, taking bowl and robe, and Gama for alms. And when he had wandered about for alms and returned therefrom and finished his meal, he came to the bank of the Kimikala river. Now while stretching his legs and to and fro along the river bank, the Venerable Meggiya saw a mango grove, pleasing and beautiful, and at the sight he thought, truly this mango grove is pleasing and beautiful. Proper indeed is it to strive here, for a clansman wanting to strive. If the Exalted One would permit me, I will come and strive in this mango grove. And the Venerable Meggiya returned to the Exalted One, saluted him and sat down at one side, and told him all that had taken place, and if the Exalted One permits me, I will go to that mango grove and strive. And the Buddha said, Stay a while, Meggiya, till some other monk appear, for we are alone. A second time the Venerable Meggiya spoke, saying, Lord, for the Exalted One there is nothing further to be done. There is no adding to his accomplishments. But for me, Lord, there is more to be done. To what is done there is more to be added. If the Exalted One permit me, I will go to that mango grove and strive. Stay a while, Meggiya, till some other monk appear, for we are alone. A third time the Venerable Meggiya spoke, saying, Lord, for the Exalted One there is nothing further to be done. There is no adding to his accomplishments. But for me, Lord, there is more to be done. To what is done there is more to be added. If the Exalted One permit me, I will go to the mango grove and strive. And the Buddha said, What can we say to you, Meggiya, when you repeat, I would strive? Do now, Meggiya, as you think fit. Then the Venerable Meggiya rose from sitting, saluted the Exalted One, and keeping him on his right, went to the mango grove. And having come, he entered the grove and sat down at the foot of a tree to spend the noonday rest. And there in that mango grove, 3 wicked evil thoughts kept coming to the Venerable Meggiya, that is to say, sensual thoughts, malign thoughts or thoughts of ill will, and cruel thoughts. And the Venerable Meggiya wondered thus, It is amazing and astonishing, sir. By faith alone have I gone forth from home to this homeless state, yet I am still dogged by these 3 wicked evil thoughts, sensual thoughts, malign thoughts, cruel thoughts. So the Venerable Meggiya returned to the Exalted One and said to him, Lord, while I stayed in that mango grove, 3 wicked evil thoughts kept coming to me, sensual thoughts, malign thoughts, and cruel thoughts. And I thought, how amazing and astonishing it was that I had gone forth from the home to the homeless life by faith alone. For Lord, I am still dogged by these 3 wicked evil thoughts, sensual thoughts, malign thoughts, cruel thoughts. And the Buddha said, For the emancipation of the mind of the unripe or unmatured, 5 conditions, Meggiya, are conducive to their ripening or maturing. What 5? Herein, Meggiya, a monk has a good friend, a good companion, Kalyana Mitta, a good comrade. For the emancipation of the mind of the unripe, this is the first condition conducive to the ripening. Again, a monk is virtuous and dwells restrained by the restraint of the Patimokkha. He is perfect in behavior and resort, seeing danger in the smallest fault. Undertaking the training, he trains himself accordingly. This is the second condition. Then that talk which is serious and a help to the mind's release, that is, talk on wanting little, on contentment, on seclusion, on aloofness, on strenuous endeavor, on virtue, on concentration, on wisdom, on emancipation, on the knowledge and vision of emancipation. A monk obtains at will, easily and without difficulty. This is the third condition. Then a monk dwells strenuous in purpose, putting away unrighteous conditions, taking to righteousness or wholesomeness, persevering and energetic. He shirks not the burden of righteousness or wholesomeness. This is the fourth condition. Moreover, a monk has wisdom. He is endowed therewith as to the way of growth and decay, with Aryan penetration concerning the way to the utter destruction of dukkha. This is the fifth condition, conducive to the ripening. Then the Buddha continued, These four conditions, Magya, virtue, beneficial talk, strenuous endeavor, and wisdom, may be expected of a monk who has a good friend, a good companion, a good comrade. Then Magya, when that monk is established in those five conditions, four more must be made to become by him: reflection on unattractiveness, to put away passion; on metta or goodwill, to put away ill will; mindfulness in inhaling and exhaling, to cut off distraction; and the thought of impermanence, to uproot the conceit I am. For a monk, Magya, who thinks on impermanence, the thought of not self endures. Thinking on there being no self, he wins to the state wherein the conceit I am has been uprooted, to the cool even in this life. That's the end of the sutta. So this is quite an interesting sutta. We find that this monk, he wanted to go off. He was supposed to be the attendant of the Buddha. That's why he was staying there alone with the Buddha, and he wanted to take off and go and practice meditation in the mango grove. But the Buddha advised him not to go, saying that they were alone. But he insisted on going, and after pleading with the Buddha 3 times, the Buddha allowed him to go. And as the Buddha expected, he went there and he couldn't meditate. He was disturbed by sensual thoughts, thoughts of ill will or anger, and cruel thoughts. And because he couldn't meditate with all these thoughts in his mind, he came back to the Buddha. And generally, it is not advisable for a new monk to go and stay alone. You can see from here why. And in the Vinaya, the Buddha instructed that new monks should stay at least 5 years with their preceptor or teacher, who teaches them the Dhamma, the Vinaya, how to serve the senior monk, practicing obedience, humility, etc. And all these is part of the training. There's a lot of things a new monk can learn from a senior monk. And when he has all the foundation laid, then only it is good for a monk to go off and live alone. Very few monks can go off and live alone from the start. And the Buddha gave him this advice that 5 things are necessary for an unripe mind to ripen. The first one, he should have a good friend, a kalyana mitta. This good friend, kalyana mitta, represents a senior monk. A senior monk, a teacher, is called a good friend in the Dhamma, in the suttas. A good friend who can guide a new monk along the spiritual path. The second quality, he should practice the precepts, be restrained by the patimokkha. The patimokkha are the 227 precepts of a monk, and other Vinaya rules also. And the third thing, beneficial talk. Beneficial talk in the suttas refers to talk about having few ones, being contented, on seclusion, on aloofness. The difference between seclusion and aloofness: seclusion means staying in a place which is secluded from lay people generally, for example, in the forest or in a forest monastery. Whereas aloofness is even staying in a monastery, you try to be aloof from other people, not to talk with other persons unless it is necessary. There's a difference. Then strenuous endeavor, making effort to strive. And then virtue, concentration, wisdom, emancipation or liberation, and knowledge and vision of liberation. These are the things that are beneficial, considered beneficial talk. Number 4 is a monk should dwell strenuous in purpose. That means he strives hard to get rid of unwholesome states and to cultivate wholesome states of mind. That's why a person on the spiritual path, he should be looking into the mind more than outside the mind. When we look into the mind, that is the source of all our problems, the ego, the mental suffering is all in the mind. And then the 5th one, the 5th quality that is necessary for ripening of the unripe mind is wisdom. And wisdom generally, we have to listen to the Buddha's words for a start, and then after that we meditate, then we get the wisdom. Then after that the Buddha said, to obtain the last 4 conditions, virtue, beneficial talk, strenuous endeavor, and wisdom, these 4 things may be expected of a monk who has a good friend, a good companion, a kalyana mitta. That means if a new monk dwells with a kalyana mitta, a senior monk, a good teacher, then that teacher monk will teach him to acquire these other 4 qualities: virtue, beneficial talk, or give him beneficial talk, and then strenuous endeavor and wisdom. And the Buddha said, 4 other things must be cultivated by a monk. Reflection, contemplation of the unattractiveness, that is asubha, the unattractiveness of the body, to put away passion. Unattractiveness of the body refers to the cultivation of the 32 parts of the body. And then the second one, metta, to practice metta, to put away anger or ill will. Metta is loving kindness or goodwill towards others. And the third one is anapanasati, mindfulness of breathing, to cut off distraction. This is to stop our thinking, because every day we are filled with a lot of thoughts, and every time we have thoughts, the ego manifests. And the Buddha encourages us not to think. So we practice anapanasati to cut off the thinking. And the last contemplation is the contemplation of impermanence, to uproot the conceit I am. This one is very important, especially the contemplation of the different types of corpses. We contemplate that one day this body will die, and then after about 3 days it will become a corpse which is bloated, blue-black, smelly, and the liquids start coming out from the openings. Suppose we have 9 openings in the body, and all this smelly liquid will start oozing out. And then later, after the body swells up, it will burst, it will open up, and then it will be eaten by all the worms and all the maggots. If we contemplate a dead dog on the roadside, how different stages of decay, one day our body will also be like that. And then we keep on contemplating like this to uproot the conceit that I am, that I exist. So these are all very practical advice by the Buddha. The first one, to recapitulate, 5 conditions are important for the maturing of a monk. The first one, he has to dwell with a good friend, a good companion. It's mentioned in some other sutta. If we dwell with a teacher, then we learn to respect and to love that teacher, to be obedient to that teacher. And the second condition is virtue. The third one is beneficial talk. If you dwell with a good monk, you can obtain beneficial talk. Number 4 is you have to strive. Number 5, have wisdom. These are the 5 factors. And then after that, 4 other contemplations are very useful. The contemplation of unattractiveness of the body, to put away passion. The contemplation of metta, practice of metta, or goodwill or loving kindness, to put away anger or ill will. Then anapanasati, mindfulness of breathing, to cut off distraction, impermanence, to uproot the conceit I am. The next sutta is also quite a good sutta, an important one. 9.1.4. Once when the Exalted One was staying near Savatthi at Jeta Grove in Anathapindika's park, the Venerable Nandaka gave Dhamma discourse to the monks in the service hall, taught them, roused them, incited them, and gladdened them. I'll just stop here for a moment. The Venerable Nandaka was supposed to be the chief among the monks who taught the other monks. He was very good in teaching other monks. And he's Arahant. He was an Arahant. And the sutta continues. Now in the evening, the Exalted One rose from seclusion and approached the service hall. Having come, he stood outside the doorway, waiting for the discourse to end. And when he knew that the discourse was ended, he coughed and tapped on the board. Then those monks opened the door to the Exalted One, and he entered the hall and sat down on the appointed seat. When he had seated himself, the Exalted One spoke thus to the Venerable Nandaka. Surely, Nandaka, this Dhamma discourse which you preached to the monks was a long one. My back ached as I stood outside the doorway, waiting for the discourse to end. When he had thus spoken, the Venerable Nandaka, being embarrassed, said to him, Nay, Lord, we knew not that the Exalted One stood outside the door. Had we known, Lord, we would not have said so much. Now the Exalted One knew that the Venerable Nandaka was embarrassed, so he said to him, well done, Nandaka. This is right for you, clansmen, who by faith have gone forth from the home to the homeless life, when you may be seated around for Dhamma discourse. For you assembled, Nandaka, there are 2 courses, either discourse on Dhamma or maintain the Aryan silence. I'll stop here for a moment. So just now we saw the Buddha stood outside the door waiting for Nandaka to finish speaking. And this shows the Buddha's humility. Now, the sutta continues. A monk, Nandaka, has faith but is not virtuous, so in that part he is not perfect. Therefore that part must be perfected. Let him think, would that I might have both faith and virtue. And when Nandaka, the monk, has both faith and virtue, then is he in that part perfect. A monk, Nandaka, has faith and virtue, but cannot obtain calm of mind within. So in that part he is not perfect. Therefore that part must be perfected. Let him think, would that I might have faith and virtue, and obtain calm of mind within. And when Nandaka, the monk, has faith and virtue, and can obtain calm of mind within, then is he in that part perfect. A monk, Nandaka, has faith and virtue, and can obtain calm of mind within, but cannot obtain the higher wisdom by contemplation of Dhamma. So in that part he is not perfect. Just as some 4-footed creature may have 1 foot short and stunted, and so not be perfect in that limb, even so Nandaka, a monk, has faith and virtue, and can obtain calm of mind within, but cannot obtain the higher wisdom by contemplation of Dhamma. So in that part he is not perfect. Therefore, that part must be perfected. Let him think, would that I might have faith and virtue, and obtain calm of mind within, and obtain the higher wisdom by contemplation of Dhamma. And when Nandaka, the monk, has faith and virtue, and can obtain calm of mind within, and the higher wisdom by contemplation of Dhamma, then in that part he is perfect. Thus spoke the Exalted One. And when the Exalted One had finished speaking, he rose from his seat and entered his abode. Now not long after the Exalted One had gone, the Venerable Nandaka addressed the monks, saying, Reverend Sirs, the Exalted One has just set forth the holy life, which is perfect and pure in its entirety, in 4 steps, and now he has got up and gone to his abode. I'll just stop here to comment. So here the Buddha is teaching that the 4 steps in perfecting the holy life. The first one, faith, saddha, refers to unshakable faith in the Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha. And when you obtain unshakable faith, it means you have right view. And in the Majjhima Nikaya number 43, there are 2 conditions to give us right view. One is listening to the Dhamma, the other one is having proper attention. These 2 things, if we listen to the Dhamma, that means the suttas, and we pay attention, then when we have listened to enough of the Dhamma and of the suttas, then we have right view. And when we have right view, then we have unshakable faith. The second one, virtue, that means the monk must keep the precepts, cultivate the precepts. And the third quality is calm of mind within. And this most probably refers to the jhanas, because samadhi in the suttas always refer to the jhanas. Perfect samadhi is the one-pointedness of mind. And the fourth quality is contemplation, the higher wisdom by contemplation of Dhamma. We obtain calm, and then we practice contemplation of the Dhamma to obtain the wisdom. So these are the 4 qualities. And the sutta continues, and the Venerable Nandaka told the monks all that the Exalted One had said, continuing, Now there are, Reverend Sirs, these 5 advantages from listening to Dhamma at the proper time, and from discussing Dhamma at the proper time. What 5? Take the case, Reverend Sirs, of a monk who teaches the monks Dhamma, lovely in the beginning, lovely in the middle, and lovely in the end, setting forth both in spirit and in letter the holy life, perfect and pure in its entirety. Reverend Sirs, as often as the monk teaches the monks Dhamma, lovely in the beginning, lovely in the middle, and lovely in the end, setting forth both in spirit and in letter the holy life, perfect and pure in its entirety, just so often is the teacher dear to him, loved, esteemed and reverenced by him. This, sirs, is the first advantage from listening to Dhamma at the proper time and from discussing Dhamma at the proper time. Again, as often as he teaches Dhamma, setting forth the holy life, so often is he a partaker of the word and in the meaning of this Dhamma. This, Reverend Sirs, is the second advantage. Again, as often as he teaches Dhamma, so often does he see in that Dhamma as he penetrates it by wisdom, its profound import. This, Reverend Sirs, is the third advantage. Again, as often as he teaches Dhamma, so often do his fellows in the holy life revere him the more, saying, Of a truth, this Reverend Sir has attained, or will attain. This, Reverend Sirs, is the fourth advantage. Then, Reverend Sirs, in the case of a monk who teaches the monks Dhamma, lovely in the beginning, lovely in the middle, and lovely in the end, setting forth both in spirit and in letter the holy life, perfect and pure in its entirety, as soon as the monk teaches Dhamma and sets forth the holy life, Everywhere those monks who are but learners, who have not attained mastery of the mind, abide resolved on the unsurpassed peace from effort, and having heard that Dhamma, strive with zeal to attain the unattained, to master the unmastered, to realize the unrealized. And the Arahant monks there, who have destroyed the asavas, lived the holy life, done what was to be done, laid down the burden, attained perfection, burst the bonds of becoming, and are freed through perfect knowledge, on hearing Dhamma, dwell comfortably, here and now. This, reverend sirs, is the fifth advantage from listening to Dhamma at the proper time and from discussing Dhamma at the proper time. Reverend sirs, these are the 5 advantages from listening to Dhamma at the proper time and from discussing Dhamma at the proper time. That's the end of the sutta. Here, the last part, even though it says listening to Dhamma and discussing Dhamma, actually these are the advantages of teaching Dhamma. The advantages of a monk teaching Dhamma. The first one, as often as the monk teaches Dhamma, just so often is the Buddha dear to him, loved, esteemed and revered by him. This is the first advantage. The second one, as often as he teaches Dhamma, so often is he a partaker of the word and in the meaning of this Dhamma. Number 3, as often as he teaches Dhamma, so often does he see in that Dhamma its profound import or importance. He sees the importance of the Dhamma, he realizes the importance of the Dhamma as he teaches. Number 4, as often as he teaches Dhamma, so often do his fellows in the holy life revere him the more. Then number 5, as he teaches Dhamma to the monks, then the monks who have not attained arahanthood, then they strive to attain even harder, having heard the word of the Buddha. And even the arahants find comfort in the words of the Buddha here and now. So these are the advantages of teaching Dhamma. Next sutta is 9.1.5. Monks, there are these 4 powers. What 4? The power of wisdom, of energy, of faultlessness, and of sympathy. And what monks is the power of wisdom? Such conditions as are bad are reckoned so. Such as are good are reckoned so. Such as are blameworthy are reckoned so. Such as are faultless are reckoned so. Such as are dark are reckoned so. Such as are bright are reckoned so. Such as are not to be sought after are reckoned so. Such as are to be sought after are reckoned so. Such as are not truly Aryan are reckoned so. Such as are truly Aryan are reckoned so. All these things are clearly seen and by wisdom well examined. This, monks, is called the power of wisdom. I just stop here to comment. So the power of wisdom means a monk is able to differentiate things. And the sutta continues. And what is the power of energy? Such conditions as are bad are reckoned so. Such as are blameworthy, dark, not to be sought after, not truly Aryan are reckoned so. To rid himself of such, he puts forth his whole desire, exerts himself, makes strenuous endeavor, bends his mind and so resolves. But such as are good are reckoned so, are faultless, bright, to be sought after, are Aryan, are reckoned so. To gain all those, he puts forth his whole desire, exerts himself, makes strenuous endeavor, bends his mind and so resolves. This, monks, is called the power of energy. I just stopped here to comment. This power of energy means unwholesome states. He strives to get rid of unwholesome states, and he strives hard to develop wholesome states of mind. And the sutta continues. And what is the power of faultlessness? Herein, monks, an Aryan disciple is faultless in act of body, is faultless in act of speech, is faultless in act of mind. This, monks, is called the power of faultlessness. Stop here again. This means the 3 karmas of body, speech and mind are faultless. And the sutta continues. And what is the power of sympathy? There are these 4 bases of sympathy: gifts, kindness, and doing good and equal treatment. Monks, this is the best gift the gift of Dhamma. Monks, this is the best kindness, teaching Dhamma again and again to the good and attentive listener. Monks, this is the best of good deeds, inciting, instilling, establishing the ways of faith in an unbeliever, inciting, instilling, establishing the ways of virtue in the immoral, inciting, instilling, establishing the ways of generosity in the mean, inciting, instilling, establishing the ways of wisdom in the foolish. Monks, this is the best equality, that which exists between stream winner and stream winner, Sotapanna, between once returner and once returner, Sakadagamin, between non-returner and non-returner, Anagamin, between Arahant and Arahant. This monks is called the power of sympathy. These monks are the four powers. Monks, the Aryan disciple who is endowed with these four powers has passed by 5 fears. What 5? The fear of wrong livelihood, of ill fame, of embarrassment in assemblies, of death, of a miserable afterlife. So, I stop here for this sutta. Here, if a monk has if a person has these 4 powers, then he does not fear that he has wrong livelihood. He does not fear ill fame, bad reputation. He's not embarrassed in an assembly of people. He's not afraid of death, and he's not afraid of a miserable rebirth. So these are 4 important powers, the power of wisdom, of energy, of faultlessness, and of sympathy. The last one, just now we discussed the power of sympathy. The Buddha said the best gift is the gift of Dhamma. This sometimes people don't realize. If you are able to have the opportunity to read the suttas or to hear the suttas, that you should make use of that. And the best kindness is teaching Dhamma again and again to the good and attentive listener. This also sometimes people don't realize that they are receiving kindness from getting this Dhamma preaching, Dhamma teaching. The best of deeds is inciting 4 qualities in a person. First one is faith in the triple gem. Second one is generosity. The second one is virtue. Third one is generosity, and the fourth one is wisdom. These 4 qualities are very beneficial qualities. Faith, virtue, generosity, and wisdom.